Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Chris Cleaver, Public Affairs Officer for the Pennsylvania National Guard. I'm joined by Lieutenant Colonel Gray Barrier, Commander, 1st Battalion, 107th Field Artillery, and Chaplain Doug Hughes. I would also like to recognize Senator Robbins from the 50th District, who is with us here today. Regretfully, we are here today to announce the loss of another Pennsylvania National Guard soldier, Lieutenant Colonel Michael McLaughlin, 44, of Mercer, was killed Thursday, January 5, by a suicide bomber at an Iraqi police recruiting station in Ramadi. Colonel McLaughlin is the first officer of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard to die in action since World War II. He was also one of the most senior officers lost in Iraq. The 10:55 a.m. blast also killed a U.S. Marine, some 80 Iraqis, and injured dozens. Among those injured were 2 Pennsylvania National Guard soldiers, Specialist Adam Brown, 21, Warren Center, and Specialist Matthew Gibson, 26, from Carlisle. Both soldiers have returned to duty. Colonel McLaughlin was a 1980 graduate of West Forest High School, Tionesta, and he held a bachelor and master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh. He joined the National Guard in April 1980. When he was not wearing the uniform, Mike McLaughlin was a private contractor in Mercer. He will be posthumously awarded the Purple Heart and Combat Action Badge. Memorial services have not been scheduled at this time. The 2nd Brigade is halfway through its one-year tour. To date, the Pennsylvania National Guard has lost 23 soldiers in combat in Iraq, 3 of which are from this unit. Now at this time, I'll turn the lectern over to Colonel Barrier.
Good afternoon. This is a solemn time for the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, and specifically the 1st Battalion, 107th Field Artillery, having lost an exceptional soldier and leader in our comrade in arms. I would like to begin by offering my personal, heartfelt condolences to the McLaughlin family. Lieutenant Colonel Michael E. McLaughlin was deployed as the Brigade Effects Coordinator, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 28th Infantry Division Mechanized, Camp Al-Ramadi, Iraq. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin was mobilized on 4 January 2005 and among 2,100 Pennsylvania Army National Guard soldiers mobilized with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team. These soldiers trained together at Camp Shelby, Mississippi from January to July 2005 to hone the skills that they would require to perform their mission. The 2nd Brigade Combat Team deployed to the Al-Anbar province of Iraq in July 2005 with a total of 4,000 Army National Guard soldiers from 35 states and territories under the command of Colonel John Gronsky. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin demonstrated outstanding professional skill, knowledge, and leadership throughout the deployment. As a Brigade Effects Coordinator, Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin was instrumental in conducting key leader engagements. He personally met on numerous occasions with the sheiks and the governor of Al-Anbar province in order to foster the participation of the local populace in economic and political progress and further the transition of Al-Anbar province into a unified Iraqi nation. As a result, he was a major contributing factor to the overwhelming turnout of Iraqi police recruits at the glass factory in western Al-Ramadi during the 02 to 05 January 2006 Iraqi police recruiting drive. During this period, 750 recruits were screened, in comparison to 0 at the previous event. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin was not content with orchestrating and planning behind the scenes, but was an officer that led from the front. On 5 January 2006, he was personally present with his team at the glass factory in order to interact with the potential recruits and ensure that the brigade information operation themes and messages were personally delivered to the Iraqi police recruits. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin arrived at the scene at approximately 0800 hours on 5 January and immediately assessed the situation and the unusually high number of Iraqi police recruits. At great personal risk and courage, his team commingled with a crowd of over 300 civilian recruits, in spite of known intelligence reports indicating the possibility of an attack. He immediately took charge of the situation, instructing his soldiers to be on the lookout for civilians capable of concealing weapons or explosive devices. Through his interpreter, he orchestrated with his charismatic leadership and organizational abilities the abnormally large crowd into a semblance of order. He further directed Iraqi security forces to treat the Iraqi police recruits with dignity and respect, in order to instill a semblance of unity and purpose among the Iraqi people in the immediate area. Subsequently, a suicide bomber infiltrated the crowd and detonated an explosive device, killing and wounding numerous Iraqi civilians, Iraqi security force soldiers, and a U.S. Marine. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin was struck in the head by shrapnel. One of his soldiers, Specialist Gibson, himself wounded in the shoulder by shrapnel, immediately checked Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin for wounds, who in turn, in an act of extreme selflessness, stated that he was okay, but to concentrate on saving the lives of his men. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin succumbed shortly thereafter to his wounds. Throughout this period, Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin displayed extreme personal courage, selfless service, and dedication to duty. He was a charismatic leader that always led from the front and was a consummate professional, fully committed in word and deed to empowering the Iraqi people to pursue political and economic progress and to end the insurgency in the Al-Anbar province. A memorial service is scheduled this Monday at Camp Ar-Ramadi to honor Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin and to say goodbye to this fallen hero. Chaplain Major Douglas Etter, the 1st Battalion 107th Field Artillery Chaplain, who is also deployed with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, and a close personal friend of Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin, will preside at the memorial service. The soldiers of the 2nd Brigade Combat Team are driving on with their important work in Iraq. They remain committed to their cause and are determined to succeed. At this time, I ask that you keep the family of Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to have Chaplain Hughes come up and talk about the important services that we'll be providing to the family. Chaplain.
As most of you know, the Army has what they call the Army Family Support System, and the system it's vital during non-combat times when families and soldiers are not deployed, but it's absolutely critical when deployment takes place. There are family action centers scattered throughout this state that will take care of the families that are left behind. There are soldiers and civilians who their only job in life is to provide information and support to the families here at home. The National Guard family, I am convinced, is a much closer organization, much closer in friendship, more closer than in our active duty counterparts, purely because the National Guard soldiers, they work together, they play together, and they live in the same location over many years. I am convinced that the family will be well taken care of because not only are they part of the Army family, but they're personal friends to most everybody in this unit.
Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin was a close personal friend. Lieutenant Colonel McLaughlin leaves behind his wife, Tammy, and 2 daughters. His older daughter, Erica, is a freshman at the University of Pittsburgh Johnstown campus, and his younger daughter, Erin, is 10 years of age and in the 4th grade at Mercer Elementary School. If I may further elaborate on Mike a little bit, or Mac as he was affectionately known, Mac was a man, a leader who lived with a passion. Everything that Mike did, he did passionately. He loved his wife, he loved his daughters, he loved his family, he loved the Guard and his military service. He loved golf. He loved deer hunting. He loved being part of the Masons and the Shrine. Mike loved this country. He was very conservative in nature, and he was passionate about his Christian faith. Mike was a man that, as you see these soldiers gathered here today, he touched all their lives. As I contacted various past unit members of this unit and current unit members, everyone was deeply moved at the loss of Mike, because Mike, when you came to meet Mike, when Mike came into a room, you knew he was there. Mike kind of had a couple sayings that everybody knew him by. That was, when you walk into a place, walk in like you own the place. And the other one was, tip of the spear. Mike was a leader, in word, in deed, and in action. The chaplain shared the procedure for casualty notification and casualty assistance. The family was notified Thursday evening. I had the grave responsibility of performing duties as a casualty notification officer to notify first his primary next of kin, his wife, and then secondary next of kin, his parents, who reside up in the Tionesta area. In addition to myself, there is a casualty assistance officer appointed, that being Lieutenant Colonel Roberta Luba. Colonel Luba is the commander of the 128th Forward Support Battalion in Pittsburgh and also the acting 2nd Brigade officer in charge. She has been appointed as a casualty assistance officer. She met with the family for the first time at 11 o'clock this morning, and she will be there by the side of Tammy and the family throughout this whole process.
Any indications at this time?
The tour of duty would have ended in the June-July timeframe. That is when the 2nd Brigade Combat Team is scheduled to return to home station. Tammy, as you would expect, is taking it very difficult, but she is a strong woman. She is surrounded by friends and family, the larger extended family of the Army National Guard. I know upon providing notification, she's very close with her neighbors. The couple there came over immediately. My spouse, as well as the spouse of our chaplain, and Colonel McLaughlin's closest friend, a retired captain, Captain Brad Misford, who is a corporal in the Pennsylvania State Police, has been by her side throughout this whole experience. Their family, because of where they live in Mercer, is either in the Pittsburgh area or up in the Tionesta-Tidiute area. Were not immediately available, but they have now subsequently come to her side and are there with her through this difficult time period.
Is this the Michael McLaughlin that the Justice Department was pursuing a lawsuit on behalf of misdeeds, alleged misdeeds by a company that he worked for? And has that lawsuit been resolved? If it has not, will the Justice Department continue to pursue that on behalf of his estate?
Well, the first part of your question, yes, that is an accurate statement. Number two, will the Justice Department continue to pursue it? I think you need to ask the Justice Department that. We would like to see it pursued. I think it's an important case about supporting the Guard members when they are deployed, but I think you really have to ask the Justice Department about that.
So it hasn't been resolved?
It has not. Well, I don't think we need to get any more specifics about that. Because it is a pending lawsuit, I wouldn't want to jeopardize that case at all. So I think it's important to stress that it is ongoing, it's not been settled, and I think overall it's something that we want to see pursued, and we'll work diligently to see that that's done. If anything, more important than ever, that Mike's family might receive something out of that.
Yes. Mike, as you know, during OIF-2, we deployed 400 soldiers for what was known as the in lieu of military police mission. We had multiple send-offs simultaneously. The two that occurred that same day were in Hermitage and then down here at Newcastle at Shenango High School, and Mike was the speaker here at the location.
I'm Major Mike McLaughlin, the Brigade Fire Support Officer. I'm here representing the battalion. I have a few messages I'm here to pass on. I'm not going to talk for a long time. Number one, I want to pass on a welcome and a greeting from Colonel Alan Lupo, the battalion commander. If you may not be aware, we have 3 other ceremonies of this type going on in Hermitage, Pennsylvania, Oil City, and Pittsburgh. And the colonel right now is in Oil City. But he asked me to pass on his thoughts and his prayers to all of you. Right now, I was asked a question earlier about how I felt about today. I've been in this battalion, or its precursor, it'll be 24 years in April. I've never been prouder in my life. There's some guys out there that knew me when I was a young lieutenant, Sergeant Bocelli, and he was a young sergeant. And he commented today he trained me. So he's responsible for what you have now. The reason I'm proud is that we've been called on by this nation to do a job. By the Army. No one else can do it, so they called us. And you guys and everyone else in the battalion has stepped forward. Few reservations, but we're doing the mission. My remorse is that I am not going with you. I do not know why, but I am a soldier. I am not to question why. I will leave that to others. I want you guys to take a look around on either side of this gymnasium. This is why we're in the Guard, men. Our families. Why we're going to Iraq. This country's made a pledge to preserve freedom for other families from other nations. The families, the reason I want to thank you is for what you've given to us. You've given me 24 years of pride to work with your husbands, your sons. And I'd ask you one thing. The next time you hear that national anthem, I would ask you to think about what it really means. Because I know I will never hear it played again without having a different thought in my heart. I want you guys to remember something. You look to your right and to your left. Those are your neighbors, your friends. We're in the Guard. It's a little different than the Army. We are a neighborhood. We are a community. That is going to do you well. You guys are the 107th Field Artillery. Our lineage goes back to before the Civil War. You're also in the 28th Infantry Division Mechanized, America's oldest active division. And you are the Pennsylvania National Guard. Don't ever forget that. That's who you are. You may be attached and assigned to the United States Army, but you are Pennsylvania. And I'd ask you to remember that and look after each other. Just briefly in closing, even though I am not going, I want everyone in this room to know, including the soldiers, I, Major Gray Barrier, Colonel Alan Lupo, the remainder of the battalion that's going to be back, we are still your leaders, even though the Army is not allowing me to go lead you in Iraq. And we are still here to help with any concerns or problems that the family has. If you've not already received the telephone numbers, I'd encourage you to get the phone numbers for the units. Get involved in the family support group. The meeting is January 6th, I believe. We're going to bring you into our community. If you look around now, these gentlemen are all that same community. You're part of it. To get questions answered, to get help, to get support, get involved in the family support group. Because we are going to be here to help you in any way that we can. If afterwards, if there are any questions, I will be around. Please feel free to come up and talk to me. But gentlemen, do well, look after each other, and I salute you.